Hi everyone, I'm Matt Mattus from Growing with Plants, and today I want to show you how to force bulbs. So here are some of the bulbs I'm going to show how to force today. And these are bulbs you can find at any big box store. I'm not buying fancy bulbs here, because forced bulbs you tend to throw away. Here in the middle I have tulips. Not all tulips force well, so make sure you look for early tulips like Darwin, or you'll see them listed as early tulips. These larger narcissus, they're miniature narcissus. Most of the miniature narcissus force really well. You can always check varieties online and see which ones force the best. These are narcissus too. This is a smaller variety. And then of course crocus. They're the easiest bulbs to force. And if you have kids or you're a beginner, I recommend getting crocus. Almost any crocus variety too. You'll see the small Siberian crocus which come up very early. Or just the jumbo Dutch crocus that you see, the purple and white ones that we all see in people's lawns. Those are very easy to force. Okay, so let's talk about containers. Plastic is your best choice. I think we all have these black plastic nursery pots. This is a small 1 quart one. They work best because you have to pre-chill these bulbs, which means for most of us putting them outside in a cold frame, if you have a cold frame, and let's face it, how many people really have cold frames? So I place mine in the ground. I'll explain to you in a minute how to do that. But plastic doesn't freeze, so it doesn't crack like clay would. So plastic pots, if you have them lying around, it's okay if they're a little dirty because again, these are bulbs you're probably going to either just plant out in the garden again or throw away. A larger pot, I'm using these for tulips which have deeper roots. This is an azalea pot. It's a 6-inch plastic pot. You can buy these at garden centers. Traditionally, and this is what I use here in the greenhouse, there are pans like this called bulb pans, which are a clay pot 4 inches deep, 8 inches wide. And there are larger ones too, like this, where you could plant, narcissus, shoulder to shoulder, you could fit maybe a dozen bulbs in here. But again, if you're going to plant these outdoors, I recommend going with plastic. Now, if you hate the look of plastic pots, you could do this. You could take a plastic container, find a clay pot that it fits into, so that when your bulbs are ready to force and you bring them indoors, you just slide it into a pot for your windowsill or your plant display, and all of a sudden it looks like you forced it in a clay pot. Alright, let's talk about actually potting the bulbs. For soil, I'm using regular potting mix. Now I use a mixture called Pro Mix, which is a commercial blend of peat and perlite, and I add extra perlite to it, so it's airier. Don't use garden soil, it gets way too compacted, it can turn into clay. Okay, now I'm going to plant some tulips. Tulips have an interesting bulb. They always have this sort of flat side to them. Do you see it? So that flat side, the trick is plant it so the flat side is on the edge of the pot like that. And so you might say, well, Matt, what's that mean? Well, quite simply, there's a large leaf that will come out of a tulip, and the large leaf tends to be where that flat side is. So this will give you a pot that actually is kind of attractive. And like narcissus or crocus or any of those bulbs you're forcing, you want to plant these in really tight together. Let's see how many I can fit in here. 6, 7. I can fit 8. Tulips are about halfway down. Now I'm going to cheat a little. I'm going to put some crocus in on the top, because this way it gives me a longer show. I can't wait. Believe me, when time mid-January comes and I want to see some color, I want something right away. So I'm scattering a few crocus in right on top, so there's sort of 2 layers of bulbs in this pot. If I wanted to, I could put 3 layers of bulbs and put narcissus in there too, maybe a little deeper. I'm putting a little soil on top so I can just see the tips of those crocus coming through. And then gravel, again, holds the soil in, because this is, a peat-based mix. And it tends to be kind of, floaty when you water it. Gonna water it. Water these in good. You're only gonna water them in once, and then set them outside to cool in that cold spot that you have. Again, and it might be in your garage, or it might be, on a porch that doesn't freeze. But water them once. That's all they're gonna need until you bring them in late January, February to force. Okay, so just to close up, there's nothing that brightens a winter day like bulbs, right? So instead of going to the supermarket to a florist, force your own. It's really easy. It's much less expensive, and you get to enjoy the whole process and share it with your family. Thank you.